Hey, welcome back to YT Finance, and today we are discussing Senseonics SENS stock, NIO NIO stock, Bionano Genomics BNGO stock, and lastly Nano Dimension's NNDM stock. For SENS, we will dig through their financials by looking at their revenues, earnings, and expenses. Then we will generate a forecast for Senseonics in 2021 and how that will impact the SENS stock price. Then we will discuss NIO stock news and how the NIO stock price will increase as Tesla's TSLA stock price increases. Next, we will talk about how Bionano Genomics BNGO stock and Nano Dimension's NNDM stock have both been downgraded in the short term. But before we get into the news, let's make you some free money with Webull. Webull is a free brokerage app where you can buy and sell stocks, options, and cryptocurrencies. But right now, you can get 2 free stocks with Webull. You can get the first free stock, which can be worth anywhere from $2 to $250 for just creating an account. And you can get a second free stock, which can be worth up to $1,600 if you invest $100 or more on your first deposit. You will have a 1 in 100 chance of getting stocks like Facebook, Starbucks, or Snapchat, and you have a 1 in 50 chance of getting stocks like Google or Procter & Gamble. To get this offer, just press on the link in my description box down below, but do it quickly because this offer will not last forever. And without further ado, let's get into today's stories. Senseonics, ticker symbol SENS, is a medical technology company that develops long-term implantable continuous glucose monitoring systems for people with diabetes. So let's look at some of Senseonics' monetary accomplishments. For instance, in the last quarter of 2020, SENS generated $3.9 million in revenue. Senseonics also raised $175 million from an equity offering, which should last them until they turn profitable. They also have an agreement with Essentia to market their Eversense product across the world, and Senseonics has reduced their fourth quarter operating expenses by $13.8 million. Senseonics CEO has complimented and commented on their partnership with Essentia and how well they did financially in the fourth quarter, and he says this, and I quote, "We are very pleased with our fourth quarter results, our commercial collaboration agreement with Essentia, and the success of our recent financing. These steps conclude a strategically transformational year for Senseonics. We believe Essentia's commercial experience and global footprint will help grow the market for Eversense in 2021 and beyond. We are working with Essentia to further expand commercial activity in the coming months." The quote goes on to say that Senseonics wants to reduce costs for patients and how Senseonics plans to launch new programs. However, the CEO will most likely always try to put their company in the best light, so let's actually take a look at what their financials look like. Some of their financial statements are linked down below in the description. Senseonics generated $400,000 inside the United States and $3.5 million outside of the United States, which will change once they get FDA approval, which I think is very, very soon. And compare that to the $9 million they made last year for the same quarter, this is a very big decline. However, in the same quarter, Senseonics actually increased their gross profits and decreased their marketing expenses to $2.6 million and $3 million respectively, and this was mainly because of a switch in Senseonics' go-to-market strategy. For the fourth quarter, SENS also decreased their research and development spending by $5.1 million, and SENS lowered their general and administrative expenses by $700,000. But Senseonics had a huge net loss of $101.6 million and a negative earnings of 41 cents per SENS share. So Senseonics' net loss increased by $66 million, which is not a good sign. And this was just in the fourth quarter. So what did the whole year look like financially for Senseonics? Well, for the year 2020, total revenues was only $4.9 million. SENS did have a gross profit increase of around $2.1 million year over year. Senseonics' overall marketing expenses dropped by $29 million, and the overall research and development cost decreased by $18 million year over year. So overall, Senseonics' revenue was pretty bad, but their gross profit increase was good, and they they are lowering their costs, which means that their money will be able to last them longer, especially because they raised $175 million in an equity offering. The collective net loss for SENS was $175.2 million, which was almost $60 million more than last year, but currently Senseonics has around $187.3 million in liquid assets like cash, cash equivalents, and restricted cash as of the first quarter of 2021. So this means that the forecast, prediction, and price target for SENS stock in 2021 will be that Senseonics racks in around $13.5 million in global net revenues, and that the Senseonics stock price is going to surge upon anticipation of the FDA approval. That is not dependent on the company's financials, but nonetheless, I will trade off of this approaching catalyst, which I think will happen very soon. Next, we will talk about NIO stock and how NIO will rally along with Tesla stock and other electric automakers because people are pouring cash back into these plays, which was approximately worth around $13.6 billion. The electric vehicle makers were also given a boost by a Reuters report that NIO, XPeng, and Li Auto companies could carry out a secondary listing in Hong Kong as soon as this year. I have a large holding in NIO stock and Tesla stock, but I would also consider hedging your bets with hydrogen plays and other green energy stocks, but I love stocks like NIO, Workhorse, and Tesla. A quick update for Bionano Genomics BNGO stock is that it was downgraded from an overall score of 65 to a score of 50, which means that BNGO stock right now is barely in the upper half of stocks according to its value. But if we only compare BNGO to other stocks in its own industry, BNGO stock holds better value than 68% of all other stocks in its own industry, which is still pretty good. Also, I would take this BNGO stock analysis with a grain of salt because I do not always agree with these analysts, but we should consider BNGO stock as lucky because Nano Dimension was hit very hard. Right now, NNDM stock is sitting around $9.49 with a short-term technical score of 45, which means that it's in the lower half of stocks if we only judge NNDM by their bullish momentum recently. But NNDM stock still outranks about 39% of stocks in its own industry, which is still a far cry from what it used to be. But again, this does not mean that NNDM stock and BNGO stock are bad stocks. This analysis is purely based off of recent stock performance, so don't worry. My Bionano Genomics and Nano Dimension stock price targets have not changed because NNDM and BNGO alike have proprietary niche technology, and these current scores do not take that into consideration. I hope you all enjoyed the recent stock market dip and bought up some great deals. If you made it this far into the video, leave a like on it, comment down below your price targets for SENS stock, NIO stock, BNGO stock, and NNDM stock. Subscribe for more stock news and analysis, and I will see all of you in the next YT video.